Hi there, Daniel from Learning on Demand English, and today's video is all about answering a question that I had a while back from a student, Ksenia. And Ksenia asked me why it is that language changes. And there are lots and lots of reasons why. She wanted to know because she was preparing to be a tour guide in St. Petersburg, Russia. And she wanted to know why it was that certain parts of speech and language, which were considered very, very acceptable in the past, were not considered acceptable nowadays. And I'll give one example of the word, being the word gay. In the past, gay was a synonym of happy. 100% true. Feel free to look it up. If you don't believe me, listen to the Flintstones song. Yabba Dabba Doo Time will have a gay old time. I feel pretty and witty and gay. All perfectly acceptable usages in the past that still exist now. And it was only from the 1960s, late 60s, early 70s, where that contained a negative connotation or a pejorative connotation from the people saying it towards homosexuals. And then, like with many things with language change, there becomes a movement either of censorship, of blocking the word from being said. There's a certain N word which is very, very negative to say, especially towards people of African American, British, Caribbean cultural heritage. And rightly so, it's a very offensive word with a lot of negative connotations behind the person saying it. But with the word gay, it was taken by that homosexual community and embraced in a way. Almost, they took ownership of it. They decided that they would own the word instead of rejecting it and forcing it to be blocked or banned. And so what you have here is this word that has changed over time. So by looking at that, you can see one example of language change, which is cultural habits and socioeconomic developments in a society mean that certain words just are not accepted. I can think of an example in more recent times where, people have just really embraced the idea that certain words are not to be said. And I think that's a very positive thing, that in general, it's not necessarily words that are bad, but it's more the intent behind them. However, there is perhaps a limit to the dangers of that, which is that if you begin to censor speech, hypothetically, that might never end. There may be no limit. It may be that hello, which, by the way, is a derivation of the word Allah, which is a whole other story. If we take a look from Spanish, hola, we see the connection to Allah much more easily. But language changes, and one of the reasons is because of socioeconomic changes and developments in society. Another reason is that people are inherently lazy. I'm sorry to break it to you. I wish that it wasn't, but it is. And unfortunately, that means we are left with shortenings and contractions, or words that are deleted or erased. And a perfect example is if you go to Starbucks and you traditionally would order 1 cup of coffee. Instead, nowadays we just say 1 coffee. Coffee with milk to go. And what we've done there is actually removed one of the necessary countable nouns from language because we're lazy. And we've created this whole field of confusion where coffee is an uncountable noun, but if you order 2 of them in a Starbucks, you say 2 coffees. And you've created the conditions, society's created the conditions for confusion for non-native learners to learn the language. So basically, what we are looking at is that laziness and society both can cause language change. And the third and final reason is just preference and taste. I think of the modal verb shall. Shall was a very, very popular modal verb, especially in the past, but now is less popular. And I'll talk more about that in the next video. Thanks, Ksenia, for the question. I'm Daniel from Learning on Demand. I'll see you in the next one.